This week I learned, new year, same duties. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another weekly update. As 2025 is officially off and rolling. Very, very fun beginning to the new year. Very busy. Very busy. You always see like the new year, new me stuff. No, it's new year. I don't want to say same me, but it's like all the same old things you have to get done with. Just adulting, guys. Adulting is it's just not fun, right? But hey, we are here to talk about what happened over the course of the week, what's going to happen, and all of the above, guys. I want to begin with what am I reading, and I did finish The Rise of the Rangers. Just Rise of the Rangers, not The Rise of the Ranger by Philip C. Quaintrell. This is the first book in the Echo Saga. And if you want to get more precise, the first book in the Relic Trilogy, which we are doing as a read-along on the Discord. So if you guys want to jump in, there's plenty of time, January, February, March, to do the first three books in this series, which is a closed-off trilogy on its own right, can stand by itself. I think the reception for this has been very good. Very good. I haven't seen anyone really be like, oh, I didn't like it enough to not continue. In fact, a lot of people are like, I don't think I can wait till February because of the way this book does end. I'm going to say this book is way better than it needs to be for me to want to continue with the series. This sets up lots of stuff, has a lot of characters, a lot of moving parts, a lot of factions and things like that, secret societies, assassins guilds, all those things that we do love about fantasy. But I never feel like it's a part where I'm just like, hey, I don't understand what's going on right now. So the second half of this book is just frantic. I know that some people have said they felt like the beginning was a little slow, as a new fantasy series will seem like, as it's setting everything up. Once you get to part 3, there's 4 parts here. Once you get to part 3, it is just frantic. It is lightning paced. And there's a battle in this that's just epic. I mean, like, I can't believe this is a first book. That felt almost like the end of a series. It was so big. There is a epilogue that surprised me quite a bit because it isn't, usually I'll be honest, with a lot of epilogues, it seems like it's just something kind of tacked on to kind of give the world depth. No, like the conclusion of the story is in the epilogue, and it's like crazy things with serious amounts of weight do happen. But look, I'm going to tell you guys what this is. What I say last week, where it felt like it was kind of a mix between, like, if you got like Joe Abercrombie or Grimdark up here, and then you've got like Brandon Sanderson down here. It's right in the middle. There's somewhere maybe like a little around the same as like a John Gwynn, but with like a few more curse words. There is a couple F-bombs in here. They do say shit a lot. It's not real super cussy or anything like that, so I think that you'll be okay. But it's one of those things where it does make it adult fantasy. But these are all the traditional things that we've come to know and love about fantasy, but it plays with some elements that I really do dig, and I think he's doing it in a way that has set up some things that I'm just very, very curious to know about. And there's some stuff in here that you dig a little deeper, you can really start to make some things out of prophecy, because he goes all into some prophecy in this, and you can start to figure some things out. But it's twisty and it's turny, and I really love the group that he's put together here in this first book, kind of our heroes group that's kind of been put together. I'm on their side. I'm really, really anxious to see where they do go as the series progresses. And one of my favorite little side things in literature ever is when you have two enemies who are forced to work together. You know, ever since I read Superman and when I was younger, and I had to see Superman and Lex have to play nice to get to an ultimate goal, and then they actually are a really good team, you get some of that in this book. And that's just a little side trip I love. I love it when enemies have to work together. And you see, we're really not that different after all, and I think there's a lot of that in this book. So really, really great start. I'm excited to continue. We'll be doing that early February. That's going to be the first book I do each month, February and March. I'm going to be doing book 2, which is called Empire of Dirt, as soon as I do finish my January read. So it might be the end of January, might be the first week of February. I'm not sure. We'll see where it does go, but I'm very excited that people are really into this and they're wanting to continue right now. They don't feel like they even want to wait. That's awesome. It's like, it sucks you can't wait, but hey, I'm glad that, you found that immersive that you want to go ahead and continue. You can't wait for February. It's awesome. That's very, very awesome. And again, you guys want to join, the description down below, hit that link to Discord to join, and you can find the read-along group there. Jump right in. There's a lot of people who are still just now starting, so you won't be left behind. And those of us who have finished the book will be more than happy to talk to you about it as you go. So very, very exciting first new series of 2025. It feels like a success, and the fact that we're going to be doing all 3 of that first trilogy here in the first quarter is very, very exciting. So how about what am I going to read, guys? What I got for the rest of the month? Well, next I did take a return to Rhaenyra and my boys Royce and Hadrian and see what they were up to before Rhaenyra Revelations. Now this is Crown Towers. This is book 1 in the Rhaenyra Chronicles, which I believe takes place 10 years before the first Crown Conspiracy. That's the first book in Rhaenyra Revelations, which is you see Royce and Hadrian already as a very, very well-oiled machine, and this is kind of their introduction to each other. Now, where I'm at, about a quarter in, they still haven't even officially met yet. I think they've been in the same place at the same time. They've conversed briefly so far, but you haven't even gotten Royce's name yet. So it's one of those things when you play with a prequel series, you're gonna feel like there might be inconsistencies. There might be there might be a lack of any weight because you know who lives and things like that. What I really truly now see how much I can say here without spoiling Revelations if you haven't read it yet. There are some characters that in Revelations. I've talked about how they'll tell stories, Royce and Hadrian, or another character would reference something that happened. Always, I feel like there's a story there, and there was. But something that I think one of my gripes about the main series was that a character like Gwen, who I really enjoyed, I didn't think that she had enough page time. She's a primary character in this series. That's awesome, getting to see how Gwen kind of came about and how she got to where she was, to where we see her in the beginning of, I think it's actually not until book 2 that we actually see, maybe 3. I don't remember. I don't remember when you first see Gwen in the Revelation series, but it's cool. It's really, really cool. So, I've got my Royce and my Hadrian. I've got Arcadius. And now I'm going to get to see someone like Gwen actually get some room to fly on these pages, and I'm super excited about that. So I love Royce and Hadrian. I love the way that Michael J. Sullivan writes. It's just so easy. I finished Revelations 3 years ago, and you just slip right back in like a comfortable pair of sweatpants. It's really, really fun to be back in this world. And just, you begin right away with Hadrian. I'm like, this is great. I miss these characters so much. So very happy, and I'll probably be blowing through that here this week. I started doing the thing I used to do, guys, which is I will read 2 books at the same time that they're different genres. And that's why I also started Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. Now, this comes out on Tuesday. They get a review copy. Very, very awesome opinion around how to do that. A very good start. And here's the thing about it, and I mean this in the best way, the very best way. So far, I say probably the first 15, 20% here, it feels very much like Mike Flanagan's Midnight Club. Except, these are people with girls with unwanted pregnancies versus people with terminal illnesses. And that's a great thing. It's a great setup the way it is. They're all in this house and they're all getting together and realizing, hey, we're all in kind of the same predicament and we can get really, really close because, clearly our families don't want nothing to do with us. Now, it's 1970, and it's going to be some of those things where you'll look at it and be like, wow, was it really like that? Yes, it very much was. You were 15 years old and pregnant in 1970. Probably not going to go very well for you with your family. Well, everybody's family, I think, is a little different, but it's one of those things like you see how her father was acting at the very beginning, like, God, what a dirtbag. And it's like that wasn't unheard of in that time period. And for me, I always look at stuff like that and say, hey, look how far we've come. Accidents happen and family rallies together. But it's a very interesting start. And the thing is it's not the spooky or supernatural shit's even started yet. I'm all in. I'm really liking these characters. I love how none of them use their real names. That's a lot of fun. There's some characters already that I'm feeling like, this feels like the best setup so far in any of the Grady Hendrix books I've read. I've read My Best Friend's Exorcism, which I loved, and I read Southern Book Club, Guide to Slaying Vampires. This, I don't think I've ever really just kind of jumped into a story and gotten interested this quick. So that bodes well. That bodes very, very well for where that's going to go. So I'll be working on finishing both of those next week, and I don't think that'll be a problem because Grady Hendrix books read really fast, and this Rhaenyra book is not. I mean, Michael J. Sullivan as a whole is such a smooth writer. You can just zip right through his books. But this isn't very long for a Rhaenyra book. I think it's like 330 pages. That's very, very short. So I think I'll be able to get through both of those this week, and I'll be looking ahead to some of my last couple of books of the month. And January's off to a great start as far as me staying on schedule, but actually a little ahead of schedule because I did get to start Thousandfold Thought so early. So a little bit ahead of schedule, and that's awesome because you don't want to kind of be sprinting to the finish line and kind of burning yourself out, just trying to make sure when you're in a read-along, that you make sure you're clear of the decks before that read-along does happen. But that's what I'll be working on this week, and so far, I'm very, very happy to do it because both books have started off incredibly, incredibly well. How about some this week on the channel, guys? Some real-life stuff this week. I had to take the kid to the doctor. I don't want to get into the details of that, but it was something that's been kind of lingering, and we had to get checked out, and wasn't the best news. He's fine. He's going to be okay. It's not like that. But, just anytime your babies are hurt, you feel bad. It's always going to be okay, but there was a little bit of recovery time and things like that. And we're doing some projects around the house and stuff. So it's been a very, very inauspicious beginning to the year. You like that? And I just, trying to make sure that I stay on top of everything has been kind of tough. That's why the videos this week were very much, I'm just like, okay, I can do a couple quick ones to just kind of close out 2024 early. I know it's probably back to back. Those are the type of videos I don't like to do back to back, but really with what was going on in the real day-to-day, it kind of just made me be like, okay, what can I do just like an hour and get those videos out? And that was my book haul for December 2024, which I did plan to do this early. So like I said, I wanted to make sure that I got onto the 2025 material ASAP. And I also did my year-end wrap-up of 2024. It's looking at my biggest surprises, my best content, and, things that people like the best. This was some of the big things that happen in life as well, and not just the channel. And just talk about kind of those things and just close down the year. Look at everything you read, your most read authors, all that fun. I like stuff like that. It's fun. It's fun for me. But now it's full steam ahead on 2025. And I got some things like some next week plans, a couple things I got coming up here. I will be doing my Wind and Truth review. Didn't get to get that out this week because, like I said, things too much going on in real life. But I will be getting that out this week. It's one of those things, like, I'm actually surprised that I'm actually hearing people give lukewarm reviews and no one's flipping tables, I'm unsubscribing, things like that. It's one of those things where it seems like maybe Sandersonians have softened a little bit. I'm actually hearing some feedback now that there are a lot of Sanderson fans who are saying that they, or Sanderson's kind of said that he feels like maybe the secret projects kind of diluted some of his mojo for Stormlight Archive, and there's a lot of people now saying well, then why didn't you just let it cook, for a little while? So I don't know how much there is to that. That's just kind of, I've heard from a person, from another person. I don't know how much of that's truth. I haven't watched Brandon's weekly updates or heard him talk about it yet. But it does seem like there's the people who are, anything he writes is going to be 11 out of 10, and that's fine. I have several authors where I feel that way. But there's a lot of people who were kind of saying, it's like a 3 out of 5 for me. And no one's getting mad like they did during Rhythm of War. So where will I fall? I'd say somewhere in the middle of that. I feel like it's a better than a 3 out of 5 book. I definitely wouldn't call it an 11 out of 10, so we'll talk about it. And I've got things to say. I wanted to make sure that I let it sit and marinate for a little bit before I did my review. So I'm glad I have taken a couple of weeks here because there are some thoughts I have and some disappointments and some things I thought were really, really great, and I felt like they were worth the wait. And it's a mixed bag, but we're going to talk about it when I do that review here. Probably Monday or Tuesday, I imagine that would be out. And then we're kind of kicking off my 2025 stuff here. So I kind of want to talk about just like reading goals and how you stay focused on setting these goals, where I know a lot of people are like, I just read whatever you want. If that's the way it works for you, man, that's awesome. No one's taking that from me. I'm not taking it from you. I encourage you to do that. People like me can't do that. We have to put ourselves on some kind of plan or else everything just goes to chaos. That's just how it works for us. So I have some ideas of some things that I want to do this year. Not just, how many books I want to read. I mean, of course, that's there, but not just how many books I want to read for the year. Some things I want to do different, some things that have worked in the past. I want to keep doing that. Some things I'd like to change. And I think all that stuff that kind of goes into it, what helps you meet those goals, and why even set goals. I mean, to me, I am very, very goal-driven. I like to set something and see the results and know that I'm working towards it and getting there. It feels like a great achievement to me. That's the same thing as me telling people, I don't understand why you got to get all those achievements on Xbox, or your PlayStation trophies. I don't get why you got to get every single one of them. It's just one of those things that completionists do, and I'm perfectly okay with that. And I think with me is if I set a goal, I like to make sure that I hit it. Now, there's a fine line there in keeping it fun. And that's kind of what's going to kind of go into this video. Talk about everything. Some things, like I said, I'm going to do some different things this year, up to and including kind of how I track things, how I plan things. And I'm just going to kind of give a full peek behind the curtain about how I set goals and how I keep up to them, and some things I think I'm going to be doing a little different this year. And I hope you guys will check it out. So that's pretty much it for the books, guys. There are a couple of TV and movie talk things I want to talk about here before I go. First, I told you guys last week I started watching Hell on Wheels. It's very good. It's very good. I'm already into season 2, but it was something where I was I'm not just one of those like Westerns enthusiasts. I'm not. I like Westerns. I really do. But there was a show coming out on Netflix I was very anxious for because I saw the first preview for it. It looked very, very good. Being done by Pete Berg. It's called American Primeval. Some people say Primeval. This is a Western. It takes place in the 1850s, the Utah territory. And it was something I was very, very anxious to see because I feel like Pete Berg is mostly a satisfying director. I feel like he's got a couple of duds in there, like Battleship or something. I mean, most part, I feel like every director has that paycheck movie on their resume, and I don't think that goes against him. I feel like his movies are usually pretty satisfying, and I gotta say, I think that this is pretty similar. I feel very, very satisfied watching this. Now, the thing that really kind of set me off about this was I was reading some of the reviews the day that it came out. They were kind of mediocre. And I'm like, the scores were mediocre, and I was like, that's a bummer. What's the deal? And I'm reading the review, and literally the only thing wrong that they're saying with it is it's too much violence. It's way too grim. And I'm like, welcome to American westward expansion in the 1850s. You know, when 7 out of 10 people died making that trip, that's very realistic. It was a freaking war zone in that area during that time period. So to me, it's like, so you're saying it would be a good series if they just said, forget that historical accuracy bullshit? I mean, that's what it sounded like to me. So it kind of really, really turned me off, these reviews, and started watching the show. What do you know? Yes, it's very violent. It's very grim. It will rip your heart out. It'll make you feel cold and hopeless, and just every little ounce of hope that you have in your life, you'll feel like, wow, things could be worse. I could have been living in the 1850s in the Utah territory, you know? So it's very historically accurate. There are some things in here that I think are going to upset some people because it's violence, it's grim, and it's not just on military. It's not just on like cowboys or Indians. It's women and children. It was a very, very cruel and punishing time to live. I've said numerous times what I loved about Lonesome Dove is it didn't romanticize the Old West here in America during that time period. The hardest thing to do was stay alive. And the show just kind of shows that because you go this way and you've got bandits. You go this way, you've got some kind of wild animals. You go that way, you've got Indians that are very upset that you're on their territory. Then this time period, I don't talk about religion on the channel because it never ends well. But I will say it does cover some things that were happening at the time with Brigham Young and President Buchanan and the Mormon stuff going on there where he's declaring martial law. And it covers some things that are historically accurate and have been proven to be historically accurate. But the fact that it is a true story doesn't make it any easier to watch, but it is incredible to watch because the cinematic side of it, the single shot during the whole Meadows massacre is amazing. It's absolutely incredible. It's one of the most heart-pounding scenes I've ever seen. Like people who carried on about that one long shot in what was that show called? True Detective. I think this is up there with it. It's incredible. And there's probably some trickery involved, obviously, but it's just amazing when there's this attack going and there's arrows flying, there's bullets flying, people are throwing hatchets. It's incredible to watch. It's horrifying because horrible stuff is happening. And it really happened. And that's what makes it more difficult to watch. But I'm glad we're not sanitizing our history anymore. And I don't think that we need to water it down. It's okay. We're grown up so we can understand we had a complicated past here in the States. And it's okay to show those things. So it's one of those where if you get really, really sensitive about these things, don't watch it. It's not going to be an easy watch for you. But you like Hell on Wheels, you like Deadwood, things like that. You're a history buff and, you just understand that's the way things were in this territory in 1857. Yeah, give it a go. It's great. It's really, really well made. Cinematography is great. The only complaint that I have of it right now is that the colors are so muted. And I think they do that just because it is supposed to be so barren and cold and hopeless. And that's kind of a look that they're going for. So if you're one of those who I hate Zack Snyder movies because the colors aren't there, this isn't a show you're going to watch for colors and feel happy. It's not. It is very, very muted. Very much like The Revenant with Leo DiCaprio. Kind of like that movie. It kind of has that same aesthetic. And it's a great show, though. I highly recommend it. 6 episodes. I think it totals about 5 hours. And I've already watched 4. And I'll be finishing it up soon. So at least watch the pilot. I think that you'll be interested. And it's got John Carter in it. Or Tim Riggins, if you prefer. What's his name? Taylor Kitsch or something like that. Anyway, he's really good in it. He is really good. He's really good in Terminal Man as well, or Terminal List. Terminal List. It's a very, very different movie. So great show, but like I said, there are a lot of trigger warnings on it, and I think you should pay heed to them if those are things you cannot handle, like seeing people get scalped and stuff. The camera doesn't turn away. It shows you all of this stuff, and it's messed up, but it's a very, very well-made show. and I think it deserves your time if you are into those things. I'm going to talk about the WWE Raw premiere on Netflix because I'll be honest, guys, I was very, very disappointed. Very disappointed. Here's my problem with this, is my kids were excited. Even my wife was watching with us because we've been thinking, this is the first episode. They're going to have more eyes on the product than they've had in a long time for a non-WrestleMania show. This is going to be awesome. It's 35 minutes before the first match even begins. It was so slow paced, guys. I mean, are you really going to open the show with Hunter coming out? Triple H comes out and he talks for 10 minutes, and it's fine. You want to do your victory lap? That's cool. Go for it. The product's yours now. Go out there, pat yourself on the back, say this is it. We're doing this. Okay, cool. Then The Rock comes out, basically says the exact same thing and takes even longer to say it. Come on, Rock. We all know at this point all of your catchphrases and stuff. Just get to the point. I mean, it's like I love The Rock as much as anyone, man, but come on. It don't take 20 minutes to say what you're saying. So the first match started. It's actually a good match. It was cool. So, okay, that'll keep us going. Then John Cena comes out and talks for 20 minutes just to say that he's entering the Royal Rumble. My kids split. They got bored. This show should have come out and completely blown you away that first hour. Because like I said, you've got these new people watching who've never watched the product before, and this show was very much just made for people who were already watching it on USA Network. Very disappointing. Very disappointing. Why was this so slow-paced? And I'm not saying I give up on it, and I don't even care about the commercials. I know some people were upset that there were commercials. I don't... Netflix is getting so much money for those commercials. I get it. So that's fine. That didn't even bother me as much. But give me some action here. No, why are we cutting backstage and showing you guys like congratulating each other for being masters of the universe? That's all it was, man. It was just like a bunch of people just smelling their own farts. We're showing celebrities in the crowd. It felt like an award show, not Raw. And I thought for sure we'd have like some kind of soft reboot or something to kind of clear up some storylines and make it where new people could jump in. No, they were talking about what happened on SmackDown the other night. So it very much just feels, sadly, like a continuation of what was on USA Network. And that's a bummer. And that's on me. I was just expecting something that was really just going to like melt our face off, not just more of the same. You know, I thought that there would be something different, but it's very much just the same product, just with different commercials, and they don't beep out the F words at the crowd saying the F word. That was it. That really was it. Very disappointing. Very disappointing. I'm hoping maybe going forward, things will be a little bit more streamlined, because that one was supposed to be like a pay-per-view, which are always very slow. I mean, that's the thing I said one time before, like, why does SummerSlam got to be 6 hours? That makes no sense. Same with this. This is way over long, and I think you could have had this show in 90 minutes with no commercials, without any crowd shots, without any... It felt like an overproduced mess, and I just can't believe with this opportunity, with this huge audience that was going to be watching this, you didn't come out with the thunder. That's just incredible to me. Huge missed opportunity. Now, I probably got huge ratings, and I'm sure that Netflix is very, very happy with that. But I don't think you're going to hold on to your audience if every episode is that slow-paced. And I really think they should just come out with something super fast-paced and have people excited to watch every single week. And I'm already like, I don't know if I want to watch this week, you know? So, I don't know. If you enjoyed it, that's great. I don't want to take it away from you. I'm not trying to be a wet blanket. I'm just saying I had a certain set of expectations, and that was going to be something different, and it wasn't. It was just more of the same, but slower and longer. That's not what I'm hoping for the future of the product. The in-ring matches were great. Just too few and too long of a wait between them. Very, very disappointing, and I'm hoping that they do listen to feedback, and I hope that is feedback. I hope I'm not the only one who feels this way, and they do try to speed it up and make it more exciting, because right now, exciting is not the word that I would use for what they did for the first Raw on Netflix. But guys, that was my week. I'd love to know what your week is shaping up to look like. Why don't you drop in the comments, let me know what you're watching, what you're reading, what you're listening to, what you are playing. I will talk to you there.